playing to their good side. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking today about playing to someone's good side. Is it okay to play to someone's good side? Well, I think it's an individual choice, and I know I have done it in my life, and let me explain a little bit about it. Playing to someone is sort of like going along with them for your own benefit. Well, I remember in high school, I had this teacher that everyone considered to be mean. She wasn't very nice to most people. She had kind of a negative attitude, and she would make many of the students stay after school and do extra work, and she was just not nice. And so at an early age, I discovered playing to someone's good side. And so every day I went in and I said, "Oh, hello, Mrs. So-and-so. You look so nice today. Oh, you are such a great teacher." And I played to her good side. Was it right? I don't know if it was really right to do or not, but I did. And I never had to stay after school. My grades were really good, and she actually liked me. And I don't think she liked anybody. And so I played to her good side. I also had a boss one time many years ago that was not always nice. She wasn't nice to a lot of people. And I learned that I wanted to keep that job. And she fired people, and I didn't want to be fired. I wanted to keep my job. So I decided to play to her good side. And so I kind of did what I did with the teacher. I always smiled at her, even when she kind of yelled at me, and she did. I just kind of, I'm not saying that someone should yell at you and accept it. I'm saying that is kind of what I did at the time. Because back then, it's not like it is now. A boss probably would not do that. But back then they did. And this is a long time ago. So I just kind of smiled at her, and I kept on doing my job. And I got promoted, and then I later left the job because for something better, but I left on good terms. And so I did kind of play to her good side. And so is it right to play to someone's good side? I don't play to everyone's good side. I don't play to most people's good side unless I choose to, unless I want to. I do want to bring out the good side of others. So I always am working at bringing out the good side in other people. But I'm talking about someone who's negative, that we particularly don't want to be around, but maybe kind of need to be around. And so do I play to someone's side like that? I haven't been in a situation in recent years like that, but if I was, I don't know, I might not. It just depends on the situation. Well, I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. May God bless you. From my house to your house, God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. When patience is not a virtue. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking today about patience and it being a virtue and it not being a virtue. Well, I believe that to some degree, patience is a virtue. If we plant a seed in the ground, we're going to have to be patient. As long as we're watering it and placing it in the right soil, we're going to have to be patient for it to grow. It's not going to grow on our timing. It's going to grow on its timing. So that's good patience, and that's when patience comes in as a virtue. But I often think people use patience as an excuse to justify not doing the work to make what it is that they want happen. And so I truly believe that sometimes patience works against us. I knew someone many years ago who made a phone call with a request, and the other person said, "Well, I'll get back to you." And they never got back to them. Well, a week after they made the phone call, I said to them, "Why don't you call them back and follow up?" And they said, no, I'm going to be patient. A year later, of course, they never heard back, and they were still being patient. And I think that was most certainly not when patience was being a virtue. I think sometimes that we have to pursue a goal more than one time. We have to pursue an objective more than one time. It's not just a matter of being patient. I think that there are times, yes, that we have to be patient, but not to use it as an excuse to keep us from pursuing what it is that we want to pursue. Sometimes we have to go back again and again and again in life to make something happen. And if we use patience as an excuse not to go back, or not to continue to do the work to make our dreams happen, then it's really not a virtue. It's really working against us. The other day, someone told me that, again, the patience, just be patient in their own life about something that they were going through. And I said to them, I said, you know what? I think patience is working against you. I think you need to look at other opportunities and other areas because that one may not work out. And they said, no, I'm just going to be patient. Well, maybe it will work out. And I think keeping that door open is a wise choice. But I also think pursuing other avenues as well at the same time may be a better choice as well. People can be like gas pedals or brakes. Pedal or brake, the people in our lives. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, you know, I think people can sometimes be like the gas pedal or the brake. I think of myself as both. What if we had a car that just only had a gas pedal but no brake, or only a brake and no gas pedal? What do you think would happen? Do you think that car would work very well? Probably not. So I think in our lives, sometimes we need to surround ourselves with gas pedals and brakes. And often we can be that gas pedal and brake in our own lives as well. You know, there are times that we need to be pushed forward, motivated, and there are times that we need to be slowed down, especially if we're uncertain about something that we're doing in life, or sometimes the timing isn't quite right and we need to slow our pace down. Sometimes if we don't get going, we're never going to get going. So gas pedals and brakes in life are necessary. One is to get us going and one is to slow us down or even stop us. And so sometimes we think about people who stop us as being negative in our life because, well, they're stopping us from doing what we want to do. But maybe they see something that we don't see. And so they're trying to hold us back for good reason. And other people kind of get on us about, hey, you need to get moving, you need to get going. And we're saying, oh, I don't feel like it. And they're our motivation to get moving and to get going. And so I believe that people can be like gas pedals and people can be like brakes. I know I am like that in my own family's life. You know, I tell them, hey, you need to get going, you need to go, you need to do this, you need to do that. Or I'll say, hey, I think you need to slow down a little bit. I think you're just going a bit too fast, maybe a bit too hasty. And so I like having people in my life that do the same for me. They give me that perspective. And I don't always agree with it, but often I do as well, because often the people that love us, that are around us, often can see what we're missing. And so sometimes there are people that are our gas pedal and often our brake. Both are necessary. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. And so from Grandma's porch, from our beautiful day, I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Quit being offended. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking today about quit being offended. Have you met people that are they're offended by everything? They're offended by the way you look at them. They're offended by what you just said. They're offended by everything. They look to be offended. You know, some people just look to be offended. Now, are there things that are offensive? Of course there are. And I believe in truly acknowledging them and then separating myself from them, if at all possible. And yet, I believe that often there are people that just get offended by everything. The other day I was on another virtual media site and I made a nice comment to someone that I know. and they kind of took it the wrong way, or they were not quite understanding it, and so they were kind of abrupt back. And so what I did is I clearly explained it. Now, they're not an offensive type of person per se, but I think that they may be going through a more offensive type of period of time, so they're a little bit more defensive. And so I had to clarify that. So we have to be clear when we say things and make sure that what we're saying is right. And there are some things that are offensive, but our world has become a place where everybody's offended by something. And I don't think that's good. I think when we live with a chip on our shoulders, it's going to get knocked off. There's always going to be something to be offended by if we let that happen. And for the most part, most things I just let pass me by. I don't get caught up into it. I don't get caught up into the stupid stuff, if at all possible, because it's stupid stuff. And like I said, I will acknowledge something that's truly wrong, and I'll clear it up, or walk away or whatever. And yet I think that there are people that just live to be offended. And I don't want to be around people like that, because you never know what you're going to say. You could say, hey, isn't a beautiful day today? And they get offended by it. And I've known people like that. They were so unpredictable and could be offended by anything. And those are not comfortable people to be around. Like I always say, if you have to walk on eggshells, the relationship is already broken. And so, we should never have to walk on eggshells with people, but we should be mindful and we should be respectful. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who are pains in the butt. People who are pains in the butt. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about people who are pains in the butt. Growing up, I always remember that expression, oh, they're just such a pain in the butt. But you know what? Those people that are often a pain in the butt are sometimes the very, very best people that we could possibly have in our lives. Because often those people are pointing out things that we're doing wrong, or they're pointing out things that we could do better. They're encouraging us. Sometimes we don't want that encouragement because, it means that we're going to have to do work. We're going to have to get out there and make it happen. So they're a pain in the butt. My kids, when they were growing up, I used to say, now pick up your shoes and put your shoes away and put your toys away, and, little kids and older kids, even teenagers and young adults, don't want to listen to mom all the time. And so mom can be a pain in the butt. And I have found that some of the people that have been the most valuable in my life have been people that were pains in the butt, so to speak. They were people that pointed out something that I really didn't want to see, or didn't want to notice, or didn't want to pay attention to, or didn't want to give focus to. Some of those people that are really pains in the butt are people that have our best interests at heart, and they're just pointing out what they're seeing, that perhaps we need to make a change. A lot of times adult people don't want to make changes. They're a lot like little kids. They just don't want to pick up their shoes. They just don't want to do a better job. They don't want to change what they're doing, or they want to go in a bad direction and they want other people to approve it. But then there comes this pain in the butt who says, no, that's not right. That's not good. You shouldn't go in that direction. That's the wrong direction. They're a pain in the butt. As we used to all call them. And so, sometimes we need people who are going to correct us, not criticize us. Remember, criticism is done to put us down, diminish us in some way, and it's usually done in front of other people. Whereas correction is usually done privately if possible, and it's done to lift us up and make us better and help us. We have to know which is which. We have to know which one is which. When we're correcting, we have to be very careful because not all people want corrected. And even if they do, a little bit of correction goes a long ways. And criticism, we do not want to be a critical person. If anything, we want to be a corrective person. I have corrective people in my life, people who would correct me on the drop of a hat if I needed to be corrected. And those very same people I could correct as well. We all may not like it, but we know that those people have our best interests at heart. So there are people that are pains in the butt, corrective people, and often they're just trying to be there to help us and see what we maybe don't want to see or are not seeing, and they want us to have the best in the world. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. And from Grandma's porch out here, it's just so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful today. And I did get my 5-mile run in this morning. It was wonderful. And our pollen is all done. So now out here on Grandma's porch, we can sit out here again. We had that big bunch of greenish, yellowish pollen. So it's all gone now. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye. People who bicker. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, we are having a beautiful, beautiful day out today, and I just finished my 5-mile run and loved it, loved it, loved it. It's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful out here. So I hope you're all doing wonderful today and having an amazing, wonderful day. Well, I got to thinking about people who bicker. You know, those people that just are not happy all the time and they squabble and they bicker among themselves. It's sort of a quiet form of arguing, but there's always some kind of dissensions, always some kind of unhappiness, always some kind of edginess around them. And I got to thinking about them. You know, people who bicker all the time generally are people that are bored, that don't have enough going on in their lives or feel like, well, they can't get what they want, so they're going to bicker. They're unhappy people. People who by nature bicker all the time, I believe, are just simply unhappy people. And so I don't like being around people like that because it causes disruption in good situations. You know, you can be in a work environment and everyone is getting along just fine. And then you have that one person that comes along and they bicker, and they do it very kind of quietly and subtly and all that. Before you know it, everybody's bickering with each other. And so whether it's a family situation, a social situation, a job situation, I don't want anything to do with people like that. And often if I see someone bickering, I call them on it. I'll say, you know what, you're a bickerer. I really will. I call them a bickerer. I don't know if there's such a word, but that's what I call them. I mean, I'll say, you know, why are you bickering all the time? You know, why are you doing this? This is a good situation and you're bringing disharmony to it. And often I do that. I call people on the carpet, but often also I just simply walk away. I don't play a part in that. I don't play a part in gossip, jealousy, bickering, any of that stuff. I don't want to be any part of that. My life is a can-do life. My life is lived positively. And people who bicker are just simply bored people, unhappy people, people that just don't feel like they can get what they want in life, I believe. And so I don't want to be around those kind of people. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And what a beautiful day we are having out here. It is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. When someone tries to blame someone else for the mistake that they made, blame, justification, and minimization. People who blame other people for their own mistakes. Justification, blame, and minimization. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I just finished my 5-mile run and I came back home. And normally I sit out on Grandma's porch, but today we are having a lot of pollen. And I've had Grandma's porch all covered up because the pollen is just so heavy. But I was sitting out here for a little while, and now I've got to cover up Grandma's couch again, because when we get a lot of pollen, it can damage the cushions permanently. So we keep everything covered up. And pollen season here lasts about, I would say probably about 2 weeks. And then we have to hose everything down and clean it up and do all that kind of stuff. Well, I got to thinking about people who blame other people for their mistakes. You know, when we make a mistake, I believe in apologizing quickly and sincerely. An apology that is not done sincerely is not an apology at all. And an apology done sincerely also corrects future behaviors automatically. And so I think a lot of people don't want to take blame, so they will twist it and turn it and blame someone else for their mistakes. So even if they made a mistake that didn't affect the other person, but they made a mistake and it affected them, but they don't want to take, they don't want to take blame for it or admit that they made a mistake, they'll often blame it on someone else. Well, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. I once, many, many years ago, knew this couple, and the husband cheated on the wife. And he went and he started to blame her for his cheating. He said, it's all your fault. If you would have done this, if you would have been a better housekeeper, if you would have had a job that paid more, if you would have done this, you would have done that. So he blamed her, first of all. Then he justified it. He justified what he did. He justified it by saying, well, I did it because, and these are the reasons I did it. Then he minimized his own behavior. And he said, well, everybody else is doing it. That was how he minimized it. So I'm very, very careful when someone starts to minimize, justify, or blame other people. First of all, are they responsible for what happened? And sometimes they are, but they just don't want to admit it. Now, granted, sometimes other people can be to blame. And I think sometimes we have to bring it to the attention. And often people know what they did wrong. I talked about that in another video. You already know what you did. But when we didn't do anything wrong and someone tries to twist or turn the blame onto us, I think it's important, at least for me, and this is how I do it. I step back, I evaluate the situation, I evaluate the information, I evaluate what happened, and then I go back to the person and say, for me, I tell them, hey, are you trying to blame me? And then what they'll do is they'll admit their mistake, most of the time, and then they'll try to do justification, minimization, as well as twist it ultimately back to blame the other person. So it doesn't work with me. Now, everyone handles things differently, and I don't give advice or suggestions or ideas or recommendations. I just tell you how I live my life. And so if someone were to blame me for something, I'd first of all think, okay, did I cause this? Did I cause this? And if I did, I need to apologize, and then I need to fix it to the best of my ability. But if I didn't cause it, then I'm not going to accept that blame, and I'm not going to let them minimize something that maybe they purposefully did and just got caught, and I'm not going to let them justify it, because I'm going to say, hey, you're justifying, you're minimizing, and you're blaming. And so sometimes people will try to turn what they did, their mistake, onto someone else. And for me, that just doesn't work. So when I see something, a mistake made, first of all, I identify what is the mistake and how did it happen, and then who caused it. And, I'm very slow in judging because, sometimes we can make mistakes and we don't want to do that. It's easy to judge someone really quick, and it's easy to put blame on someone really quickly. And so I don't do that. I'm very, very slow about my information. I make sure that my information is accurate. But if I see someone trying to put blame on someone else, my first thoughts are they're trying to blame someone else, and they're trying to minimize what they do usually, and they're trying to justify it. So usually those three things go hand in hand. Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. And hopefully the pollen is going to be gone here pretty soon. But it's still a beautiful day nonetheless. And I got in a 5-mile run in, so I'm happy. Talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye. Don't let someone confuse you. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about people who confuse other people. You know, there was a term growing up that often people used, and they called other people who confuse other people simpletons. That means it's somebody who pretends to be an expert about something that they're not. They pretend to know something that they don't know, but yet they want to seem important. And so that's why they were termed simpletons, that they confuse other people by pretending to know what they do not know. And so what I've learned in life is to be very cautious about who I listen to and what information I actually accept as credible, because not all information is credible. Not all information is accurate. And so we have to remember that. And if I'm giving a suggestion or talking to somebody, sometimes I'll say, you know, I am not sure or certain about this information, but I'll let you know anyhow. But I've kind of let them know that I was not certain about that information. And so that makes my statement credible because I'm letting them know that I'm not sure. But a simpleton does not do that. A simpleton will say, oh yeah, this is correct. This is right. I know it's right. And then it turns out not to be right. They had faulty information. They likely knew that their information was not backed up with any form of accuracy, and yet they were willing to confuse another person so that they could seem important. So, you know, there's a lot of people like that in life that go around and pretend to be experts at something that they're not. And so for me, if I ask someone a question and they give me an answer, I always keep in mind that that answer could be faulty. So usually if it's an important answer, I will back that up with more information from them or from someone else or from another source to make sure that my information that I'm receiving is accurate. You know, some people go around just to stir the pot. They create havoc where there is no havoc. They make up stories. They make up gossip, you know, and then other people begin to believe it and play off of that. We see it all the time in work situations where people whisper around the office about something that is not even true. And so we have to remember not everything that we hear, not everything that we are told is filled with accuracy. Sometimes it's filled with holes. And so a smart person remembers to always back up what they're hearing with accuracy in some form or fashion before they act upon a suggestion or advice of someone. Because if they do act upon it and they're not sure about it, often that information could be wrong. Some people do pretend to know it all, and people who pretend to know it all often don't know it all. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who do not like themselves. People who do not like themselves often do not make good friends or partners. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about people who do not like themselves, people that are very unhappy with who they are. They often do not make good in relationships. And the reason for that is often when they don't feel good about themselves, they cannot be their best in a relationship. They cannot put their best foot forward because they don't feel good about themselves. In order for us to put our best foot forward, often we have to feel good about who we are, or at least approaching the direction of feeling good about who we are. Sure, we all can have unhappy moments and unhappy days. That's not the same as an unhappy person. Some people who are unhappy, who do not like themselves, just don't do well in relationships because often they don't want to see other people be happy, or they resent the happiness of another person. Sometimes people resent other people's happiness. They're jealous. And so they don't do well in a relationship. That's always festering under the surface, some which way, at some point, it's likely to come out. I remember somebody I met on social media a long time ago. I could always feel it underneath. I could always feel that tension that she resented me. And it eventually did come out. I never said one word. It just came out one day. She blew up on social media and messaged me. It wasn't on YouTube. And, of course, I handle things very diplomatically, and, I just unfriended her. But sometimes unhappy people look for a reason to not like somebody. They look for a reason to find fault in someone, especially a happy person. And so I think it can happen. I think it really, really can happen that if we get into a relationship with an unhappy person, with a person who does not like themselves, likely that relationship is not going to go well in the bigger picture. On a short-term basis, it may, but on a bigger term picture, it's likely not. Not all unhappy people are people that don't like themselves. Okay, there's a big difference. We can all be unhappy, but still like who we are. And that's different than an unhappy person who doesn't like themselves. Because people that don't like themselves tend to not like the world around them. They tend not to like their relationships around them. They tend to resent the people that are around them because they don't like themselves. Unhappy people who like themselves may be going through a difficult and challenging time, and yet they wish the people around them the very, very best. They wish for all good things, and they're still motivated in the direction of finding happiness again. So there's a big difference between an unhappy person who likes themselves and an unhappy person who doesn't like themselves. So I believe, for me personally, I wouldn't want to have a close relationship with anyone that did not like themselves, because that's their own journey. I can't make them like them. I can't make them like themselves. They have to find their own way. And we all have to find our own way. But it's important that we like ourselves so that we can have great relationships. Well, from my beautiful day to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you all soon again. From Grandma's porch. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Not everybody plays by the rules. People who do not play by the rules. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I was having a good conversation with one of my dear friends last night, sitting out on Grandma's porch, which y'all know I sit out on Grandma's porch. It's a little chilly today, but a beautiful day. And so my son, he said, Mom, close that door. I love the fresh air coming in. He said, a little bit chilly. So anyhow, I was sitting out there last night, and that's where I usually have my phone conversations late in the evening after I've had family time and, spend spent time on the front porch with my family, and we've had family dinner and you know, our conversation time, whatever we do as a family. And so my friend, she was telling me about how she had gone to a store and everybody was wearing masks, because right now we're all wearing masks, you know, when we go out. And she had her mask on, but this one family that was a mother and I guess a couple kids. I think the kids were like probably 10 and 12 or somewhere in that age range from my understanding. And my friend was in an aisle, and one of the kids started sneezing, didn't cover their mouth, and the mother was right there. The mother saw all this, and the kid sneezed right onto my friend. Well, fortunately, my friend had the mask on and everything like that and just went the other way. But she said, you know, that family didn't play by the rules. They didn't respect the rules, because basically everybody here is wearing masks when we're going out right now to cover our faces. And here, this the adult mother should have had a mask on their child if they knew that that child had a cold of any kind or anything like that, and they didn't, you know. But it got me really to thinking about what my friend talked about people not playing by the rules. And you know, in life, in any area of life, whether it's on our jobs, at church, in our neighborhood, down the street, when we're driving down the road, often people don't play by the rules, even though we're playing by the rules. We think often that everybody's going to play by the same rules that we play by, the right rules. But some people don't play by the rules, or most certainly they don't play by the right rules. They play by the wrong rules. So what do? Well, first of all, I don't want to be around anybody that's playing by the wrong rules. And that's why, in a way, we have to sort of think before we go to certain places or do certain things. So to kind of safeguard ourselves, like my friend did. She had her own mask on, so she was smart. And so I'm just using that as an example about people who are not playing by the rules. The parent really should have been more attentive, in my opinion, with her child. First of all, you know, because everybody really is kind of wearing masks right now. Not that it's mandatory, but it's suggested. I think as a good parent, I think maybe, you know, either not take your child out to the grocery store, or at least have some kind of covering or some kind of protectiveness, not just for the child, but if the child has a cold and they're sneezing on other people, that's not being very thoughtful. That's not playing by the rules, in my opinion. And so the thing about it is, the world doesn't necessarily play by the right rules, and most certainly don't necessarily play by our rules. And I think the more we realize it, the better off we will be. When we are misguided and we think everyone's going to do the right thing and everyone's going to play by the right rules, sometimes that can work against us, because not everybody plays by the right rules, and most certainly not necessarily by our rules. Well, from Grandma's porch, from my kitchen, from wherever you're at, may God bless you, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye. Before you encourage someone, make sure they actually want encouragement. Not everyone wants to go to that next level. Not everyone wants to be encouraged. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to thinking about people who really don't want encouragement. They just want to complain. or live in complacency. I believe that often we get caught up into encouraging people that don't want to be encouraged. Actually, they're very uncomfortable with it, and sometimes they don't like it. Because, well, if we encourage them in a positive direction, that means that things are going to have to change for them, and they may not want to change things. They may be very comfortable where they're at. It also means that they may have to do some work to make it happen, and that may be the last thing they want to do. I believe that some people don't want to be encouraged. And so for me, I believe that sometimes our encouragement needs to be held off and not given to people who don't want it. We need to respect their boundaries and their wishes as well. Before I start encouraging someone with, positive words and encouragement of what all they can do, I take a look at the person and I decide, do they really want encouragement? I remember many years ago, I would encourage people, without really thinking much about it. I just wanted to encourage them to live their best life. And I discovered that a large percentage of people don't really want to live their best life. They really don't want to change. They really don't want to make changes in their life because it's going to take work. It's going to take effort. And also, a lot of people are very happy and content living in the land of complacency. I don't really know how happy they are, but they've built their life there and they're comfortable with it. Maybe comfortable is a better word. So I truly believe that when I go to encourage, I make sure that that person's going to receive it, be receptive to it, and want it. Otherwise, I don't do it. Because not everybody wants our encouragement. Not everyone wants to make changes to their life. Some people are just happy complaining, and they're happy being miserable, and they're happy not doing the work. I remember one day I was encouraging someone to reach a little bit higher. They had not liked where they lived. And I said, well, you know what? There's so many great options for you. And I went on to encourage them. But they didn't want to hear it. And ultimately, they're still stuck where they don't want to be because they're not willing to make that change. They gave me a whole list of reasons why they couldn't make the change. And in my mind, most of those reasons were not even valid. They were just excuses. There are reasons, and then there are excuses. And I believe that they gave me excuses and not reasons. So remember, some people really don't want to change their life. They really just want to complain. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. And Grandma's porch. I always take you out to Grandma's porch, and we are having an absolutely beautiful, beautiful day. May God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. People who do not want to listen. I think we've all met someone who, no matter how well-intended and well-informed we are in our suggestions or advice, they don't want to listen. They are determined to go down a road that is not right for them. It could be poor health choices, poor health habits that's ultimately going to wear on their bodies in a negative way. Or it could be that perhaps they're in a relationship, but they're cheating on the person that they're in the relationship with, thinking that they can continue on down that road with, only good things happening. Perhaps it's the way they're spending money. Perhaps they're spending money so frivolously that they're getting themselves into debt, but yet they don't want to listen. It could be about anything, any area of life. I believe for myself, I listen to well-intended people who have my best interest at heart. Even if I don't agree with them, even if I don't take their advice or suggestions, I tend to listen to them. And yet, if I find that there's merit to what they say, I often will consider applying what it is that they're suggesting, because sometimes we can't see what other people can see, and other times people are right. And sometimes by us modifying what we're doing, it can spare us a lot of mistakes down the line. And so I've known people that were potential train wrecks going down the train track, and eventually it seemed like they wrecked the train, so to speak. And so I believe that some people, even knowingly, are making wrong decisions, even know that the end result will not be good, and yet they continue to make it. And often there's not a whole lot we can do about it. Often we would like to think that we have some control over other people and their decision making. And in some cases we do, but often we don't. Often people have to find out the hard way, unfortunately, where their behavior is going to take them, where their choices and decisions are going to take them. Smart people learn through wise people, through mentors. Foolish people learn through their own mistakes. I'm not saying that wise people don't make mistakes, but they don't make unnecessary mistakes. And whereas foolish people often make unnecessary mistakes. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Think before you incite. People who incite discord. Don't incite an argument. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I'm amazed at how many people provoke, they incite an argument with other people. They know that they're going to rub that person a wrong way by bringing up certain issues, and it causes friction and unhappiness in that relationship. You know, sometimes we just simply should enjoy another person for who they are rather than always trying to change them. You know, for the most part, I don't think that we can really change people until they're ready to change. And if they do change for us, it's usually only temporary if their heart is not in it. So why bring the issue up all the time and time again, when that person is not ready to change? Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to stay in a relationship with somebody if they have bad behavior and they're not willing to change. I have the right to leave that relationship, or at least distance myself at some level in that relationship. I got that. And yet I'm not going to constantly bring up an issue that's already been discussed time and time again. When the other person is fully aware of that issue and of my feelings towards that issue, I'm either going to distance myself, either accept them the way they are, or either just walk away. But I'm not going to keep going over and over and over an issue that I've already talked about, because all it does is incite negative feelings, and then what could have maybe been a nice time together ends up not being all that good of a time. So think before you incite. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye. And from our beautiful porch, from Grandma's porch and our beautiful day, I'll talk to you then. People who play the blame game. People who blame other people. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne, and we are having a rainy day today, and I love it. It's a stay-at-home type of day, and I was going out for my 5-mile run as I normally do every day at age 62, and yet I decided that I'm not going to run in the rain. Sometimes I'll run in the rain if it's a light drizzle, but this is a little heavier than a light drizzle, and it's a little bit chilly, so I really don't want to run in the rain as I normally do every day. But as you can see, it's coming down. I don't know if you can actually see that it's coming down, but it is coming down, and so I'm just making a video, and I'm going to work on my college work, and I'm going to, as you all know, I go to college at age 62, and I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on some projects. I may start a new painting today, so we'll see, But I got to thinking about people who play the blame game. You know, often people blame all of their problems, all of their unhappiness on another person, on another situation, on a place, on an event, rather than look at themselves. I'm not saying that some situations do not produce unhappiness. Some situations can make us unhappy. You know, if we're on a job that has a lot of deep problems and we can't do anything to fix it, it can make us unhappy, and sometimes the only solution is to find another job. Or if we're in a relationship that has a pattern to it, and it just is a negative pattern, and we've done everything that we can to fix it or change it, and it's not changing, sometimes we have to get out of that relationship. Or if we're in an area that offers us no opportunity and is really holding us back, perhaps it's holding us back to some bad memories every time we see it. And even though we've created new good memories, we still kind of hold those bad memories there. Sometimes, yes, sometimes it's okay to move on. And yet, some people, that's not the reason. Some people, no matter where they go, they're going to have the same problems because they haven't dealt with their own issues. They like to blame a place, a job, a relationship, another person, an event, something outside of themselves they like to blame. And when they blame another person, that's the easy way out for them. They don't have to do the work to fix it. They don't have to acknowledge it. They just use blame as their solution, and that if they make a change of some kind, a new relationship, a new job, a new place, new events, those other things will bring them happiness. And usually it doesn't, or it's very short-lived, because they have to deal with themselves. Now, some people move to a new area, a new job, new relationship, because there's enough bad memories that they created, but they also dealt with and tried to fix, but yet the memory was still there, and people still saw them in a negative light, even though they had changed. So sometimes people do need to move on to a different job, a different relationship, a different place. But that's usually, in my opinion, after they have corrected to the best of their ability. And yet, some people don't correct things before they leave a situation to the best of their ability. Instead, what they do is they go from one place to another place, one relationship to another relationship, one event that, are continually trying to create new events to give them happiness, from one event to another, from one job to another, from one thing to another, in order to create that happiness. And then they blame the new place too, and because they haven't dealt with their own issues. If they have a negative pattern, a negative personality, a negative attitude, negative choices and decisions, and they continue on with those in the new place or the new situation, it's likely going to turn out the way the old situation did. That's why I find it very, very important that we do our best to fix whatever it is that we need before we make the change. Not in all situations, but often, because, well, if we don't fix it, then we're going to carry it with us. And even though we may have fixed it in the old situation may have the memories attached to it, whether it be our memories or someone else's memories, and that may hold us back. So sometimes we do need to move on. And yet, often, it's not the situation, the person, the relationship, the job. And sometimes when we fix it, we don't need to move on. People accept the newness of who we are, the new behaviors, the new choices, and everything works beautiful, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's in any other kind of situation or event. And yet sometimes people will hold us back to what we did 10 years ago that they thought was really, really wrong, and maybe it was wrong. Sometimes we do have to move on. And yet sometimes we don't. Sometimes people are very forgiving, or it's just our own selves that have to forgive ourselves, and we're fine right where we're at. And yet those other people who want to blame a place, a situation, a job, another person, when the truth is it's really them that the problem is coming from. And if they don't deal with that, they're likely going to meet up with the very same problems in a different environment, in a different relationship, in a different situation, in a different set of events. If they don't deal with their own self first, and their own shortcomings, and their own flaws, they're likely going to meet up with all of that again somewhere else. So I believe that when people play the blame game, they blame other people, they are escaping the reality of their own choices and decisions just for the moment. But they're going to meet up with that reality somewhere along the line again. From my rainy day to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. People who stir the pot. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, we are having a gorgeous day out today. A perfect day for me to go for my 5-mile run. And I wanted to talk today about people who stir the pot. We've all known them. They're people that really, they like other people to do their dirty work. They like people to bring about chaos, confusion, and gossip, and jealousy, and all those negative emotions. And yet they kind of stand removed from it all. They kind of just stir the pot. They put subtle negativity into their conversations with another person. They put doubt. They love to use doubt with another person. Well, you know, I don't know. They just bring in all kinds of negativity. You know, I watch out for people like that, and I guard my close relationships, whether it's my family or whether it's friends, from those kind of people. I don't allow those kind of people up close and personal, because those kind of people stir the pot. They're out there to create havoc and disharmony, and they don't want other people to be happy. And yet often they sit there like, wow, I'm just so perfect. You know, I'm not a part of this. They're kind of like the person who watches all this go on, but they've actually created it, and yet they've removed themselves from it as like the innocent person. And like everybody else has problems, and like, oh, you all have so many problems and I don't have any problems. There are people that stir the pot for their own purpose, and I've seen it time and time again. It can happen in family situations. It can happen in work situations. It can happen at church. It can happen in the neighborhood. There's always that person that creates disharmony. They create havoc. They put doubt in other people's minds. They say stuff just enough to get things going, but not so much where they become involved in it. Yes, there are people that stir the pot, and I don't want to be around them. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon again. From my beautiful day to yours, I hope you subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Don't let people swallow up your time. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about time swallowers. Those are people that purposefully just take up our time needlessly, and they're really not contributing much, or even we may not be contributing much to them. And don't be a time swallower. You know, I'm very respectful of other people's time, and I like other people to be, very thoughtful of my time, because I have such a busy schedule. Now, I surround myself with people that are very respectful. My kids are respectful, my husband's respectful, and my whole family, is respectful, along with all of my friends. So if I get around someone who is not respectful, then it becomes very challenging. And I've had people that want my time. And, I usually will set aside time for that person. And what I do is I tend to say, I have this amount of time to give, so I'll meet you at 1 o'clock to 1:30, or 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or we'll go out to lunch from 1 to 3. Something, I let them know how much time we have before we go into the relationship. That way we can gauge our conversation. If we make it a free for all, like, well, let's just go out and hang out. Well, there's no time, there's no beginning and there's no ending in many cases. And that can end up wasting my time. And so I don't do it that way. I kindly let people know how much time I have to give. And that way I can focus in on that relationship and give it the time and attention that I want to give it. If we're just kind of all over the place, we're probably not even going to be all that focused on that relationship. So, but I don't let people come in and purposefully just take up my time because they're bored, they have nothing to do. I don't do that. Now, I give people my time. I'm very, very thoughtful. And yet, because of my life and my busy schedule, going to college and having a beautiful family and all of that, I really, really have to be very time alert and time aware. And so I don't let people swallow up my time. Even when I'm out and about, I gauge where I'm going to give my time and who I'm going to give my time in. And I don't let people swallow up my time. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who want to take up your time. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about people who want to take up your time. People who want more out of a relationship than you really, really want. Now, granted, I have a wonderful family and I have wonderful friends. And so I'm not talking about any of them. And yet, in my life, I've had people that wanted more of my time, that actually kind of demanded more of my time. And the way I look at it, unless they're paying my bills in some way, likely, if I don't have that kind of time to give them, I'm probably not going to give it to them, especially if they demand or expect it. Sometimes when we enter into a friendship, we enter into a social relationship, there are expectations, and sometimes we have obligations. And I got that. That's a kind of a different thing. And yet, I believe that there are some people that just expect, and they want more and more and more. Perhaps they just want you to do their work for them, and so they start dumping their work on you. Or perhaps they just want to kind of hang on you, and they don't really have a life of their own, so to speak, or doing much in their life, and so they kind of want to live vicariously through you by going along with you. My life is busy, and my friends know that, my family knows that. I have time for them, I make time for them, I love my family, I love my friends, and yet I also realize that they respect my boundaries, they respect my time, they know I'm busy, and they know I will make time for them. But when people start to expect, when they start to demand, that's kind of when I pull back and I say, you know what, you're kind of demanding a little bit too much from me, and you're kind of expecting too much from me, more than I'm willing to give. Relationships are sort of like a dance, and we have to find what works in that relationship. And yet, I also know that it takes two people or more to make a relationship work. And so I believe in coming together and, to a place where we're all comfortable with the amount of energy and time that we're giving in a relationship. And so, I have friends that we talk once every 2 months or 3 months because they're busy, I'm busy. But when we talk, we pick right back up. We reconnect just where we left off. So there's, it's comfortable. But I've had other people that weren't flexible like that. When I didn't call them every day or connect with them more often, they didn't like that. They expressed, hey, I want more. I feel like, I should be over at your house every day or whatever. No, just because I'm friends with someone doesn't mean that they need to, be in my life on a daily level necessarily. Some do, some don't. but it means that we just kind of work out what's right for our relationship. But yeah, in my life, with my busy schedule, I don't always have that kind of time. And so for me, I'm there for my friends when they really need me. And of course, I'm really there for my family. And yet they know that if I kind of disappear for a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months, I'm still there, and we can pick right back up where we left off because, I'm busy, they're busy, and it all works great. Well, from my house to yours, I hope you subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye, and may God bless you. Bye-bye. People who tell too much. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I got to thinking about people who tell too much information, unnecessary information, as well as people who talk too much. I think we've all run into that person in life that just talks and talks and talks, and they don't listen. They never take time out to listen to what anyone else has to say. They're just too busy talking, and they go on and on and on. They don't even take a breather between sentences sometimes. And also that person that they will tell you everything, including how much money down to the penny they have in their bank account. And, I believe in being, to a degree, not an open book, but a book that can be read. And I believe that the best books are savored and read over time, and we get to know that book over time. And so some people want to just give all the information out right there and then. And I think that that's not always the wisest choice. I don't think everyone deserves our information. Not everybody deserves details of our lives. Some do, some don't. And sometimes we choose to give people details about our lives in order to help them, or perhaps it is a healing process for us. But to tell every detail of our lives, too much information, well, I just don't think that that's always the wisest thing to do. I got to thinking about, sometimes when we're talking to somebody, we give too much information. We tell too much stuff that is unnecessary, that can even complicate things from the main subject that we're talking about. We don't have to talk about everything. We don't have to throw the kitchen sink in there as well, so to speak. Sometimes the less information we give, the better. It just depends on what we're talking about. And I think people who just tell too much often don't have a filter up there of knowing what to tell and what not to tell, because everything is not everyone's business. Some of the personal details in life is not everyone's business. So when I talk about stuff, sometimes I give out information, but sometimes I hold back information, because not everything should be given out in the sense of giving information out. And so, and also people who just talk too much, that just don't stop for air to breathe. They just talk. So remember, sometimes less is more. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who try to diminish who you are or what you are about. Don't let someone diminish or put down who you are or what you do. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. I got to thinking today about people who often will try to put other people down, or what makes that other person happy, they'll put it down. They'll put a damper on it. And then before you know it, the other person's going, well, I guess it wasn't so great after all. I guess I'm really not that interested in it. And often people's negative suggestions can put that damper on something that really makes us happy or is really right in our life. I've known people that said to other people, why are you friends with that person? And then that puts doubt in that other person's mind, and then they pull back from a very, very positive and good friendship. In turn, they've got this negative friendship with this doubting Thomas, so to speak, that's putting negativity in their mind on a constant basis. People who try to diminish what I do, put down what I do, put down down. For example, I'm an artist, and if someone came by and said, "Oh, why do you paint? Why do you paint paintings all day? Isn't that kind of boring? And who wants to look at paintings? You know, now everybody has printed paintings, so to speak, or whatever. You know, and they can diminish what it is that I do to the point that, well, I could quit painting. And would that be a good thing? No, it wouldn't. So, you know, there are people that correct us, people that help guide us, people that help us navigate. And I'm all for correction, the right kind of correction done in the right way by the right people. And if it's the right thing, that they should be correcting me on. And yet, even correction sometimes is not right for our lives when it may not be right correction, even though the person may be well-meaning. Now, criticism is not right for my life because criticism is done to diminish. Correction is done to lift us up. And yet, what I believe is that there are people out in the world that put dampers on everything. They put dampers on what other people do. They try to diminish or put down what other people are doing, or even what they are about. They'll say, "Why do you act like that? Why do you smile like that? Why do you sit like that? Why are you interested in that? Why are you friends with that person?" It could be just about anything where they discourage you from something good. And so I identify people like that right away. And I back up really, really fast. And I stay away from those kind of people because I have so many things in my life that I love and that I enjoy. And I don't want anyone coming into my life and telling me, "Well, why do you enjoy that? You really shouldn't. It's not that good for you. Being an artist isn't that great." Well, excuse me, but I love what I'm doing, so mind your own business. So people who put dampers on things, people who try to diminish who you are or what you're about, often for me, I just avoid them. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who run away from themselves. People who try to run away from who they are. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to thinking about people who are never happy. They're never satisfied wherever they go in life. And I believe that in many cases, in many situations, that it's because, well, they just are not happy with who they are. But they don't acknowledge that. They're always in the state of blaming others or situations for their unhappiness. And so rather than deal with their own issues and rather than finding the root of what their issue is about, they will often blame other people. If you hear noise, that's my dishwasher. I'm washing dishes. I really wash dishes. And I'm in my pajamas. It's a rainy day out today. I can't walk around with the camera because my battery went sort of panned out on me, and so I've got it charging right here. So I'd walk out on Grandma's porch. I'd be doing videos out on Grandma's porch. Guess I could plug it in out on Grandma's porch, run an extension cord. Actually, I have sockets out there, but not where I plug my camera in. So yeah, so I got to thinking about people who are running away from themselves. You know, some people they go from place to place, situation to situation, job to job, friendship to friendship, relationship to relationship, neighborhood to neighborhood. They're never happy. I knew someone many years ago that wherever she moved, she found fault in where she moved, whether it was an apartment, a house, whatever. And there was always some kind of drama attached to it. Always, always, always. And still to this day, and this is many years later, that person still remains so changeable, discontent. There's always a discontentness, whether it's on a job, whether it's in a neighborhood, whether it's where she lives, whether it's the city that she lives in, whether it's the state she lives in. She's always discontent. She's a wonderful person, but she's discontent. I've known other people that were so discontent. They were not happy with wherever they went. They weren't happy on their jobs. Initially they would be, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. And then slowly they would ease their way back into the negativity of being dissatisfied, because that was part of who they were. They would find dissatisfaction wherever they went. For me, I've been the kind of person that always took lemons and made lemonade. And so if I had a job that I didn't like, I pretend that I liked it, at least until I could find a job that I truly loved. And if I was in relationships that I truly wanted to get out of, I got out of. But I realized that people aren't perfect, relationships aren't perfect, and I don't look for perfect people. I just look for wonderful people. I don't look for perfect people. And so I don't become disappointed when I find out someone's not perfect, because I know I'm not perfect either. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for amazing, wonderful people in my life. And, I know a job is not going to be perfect. There's going to be flaws. I know going to college at age 62 like I do, there are flaws in that. There's days I go, oh, why did I sign on for this? But I love it. I love it nonetheless. Things don't have to be perfect to be wonderful. And yet some people are never happy because they're looking for that elusive perfection. And even if they found it, they'd probably find something wrong with it. And so I think sometimes people have to deal with their own issues and who they are and why they feel this way and why this is going on over and over and over, because sometimes people are running away from themselves. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. From Grandma's porch out there that I cannot move my camera right now, I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. People who will trash your life. People who will trash your life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. We are having this absolutely gorgeous day after a snow day yesterday. So I just completed my 5-mile run, and it was awesome. I've just gotten back to my regular routines at the gym and my daily runs recently after hurting my foot a couple weeks ago by bumping it in the middle of the night on a piece of furniture. Taught me to always have a light when I get up in the middle of the night or if the room is dark. And so today I got to thinking about people who will trash your life if you let them. They're everywhere in life. They're in the workplace. They can enter your home. They're freeloaders. They're moochers. They're users. They're people who often play the victim when you stop the giving game. When you stop giving to them, they go, oh, you're mean. You're absolutely mean. You're just throwing me out in the street, or you won't help me at work, or you're just a mean person at work. And they usually will badmouth you to everyone. And often that's their control. They control you by you being fearful that they're going to badmouth you. But you know what? Let them, in my opinion. And if people want to believe it, well, so be it. I'll make some new friends or new acquaintances or new whatever. But I remember many years ago, I was living in an apartment complex. And it wasn't really an apartment complex. It was little mini efficiency apartments in an old mansion, and they were really cheap little apartments, $9 a week, utilities included. Anyhow, one of the women in there, she let one of her friends come and stay just for a couple nights. Well, the friend ended up staying for like a long period of time, and it was only a one occupancy apartment. And so the landlord said, hey, you have to, get her out of here. And so I remember when they put her out, she was so upset. She stood out on the porch. She wouldn't leave. She stood out on the porch and just cried and cried and cried and played the victim. She didn't have free rent anymore. She couldn't be a freeloader anymore. And she had to put together her life, except what she did is she freeloaded on someone else right after that. That's what freeloaders do. They play victim, they freeload, they use, they disrupt, they cause chaos. If you let one of these people into your life is going to look like a trash bin or a junkyard. And they will wreck your relationships. They will badmouth you. They will get other people to side in with them. They will trash your home, literally trash your home. They will spend your money and never pay you back. They will take loans. They will borrow from you. They will ruin your reputation. They will do all of these kinds of things. They're freeloaders. That's what freeloaders do. And so for me, I don't allow people into my world, into my life, into my home, into my area that are freeloaders, users, moochers, people that will trash my life, because that's what happens. And often people look at their lives and go, what happened to my marriage? What happened to my friendships? What happened to my job? What happened to my home and my finances? Because they let the wrong person come into their life, make the wrong decisions, wrong choices, freeload off of them, and then left them cleaning up the mess. And so I believe in never, ever, ever letting a freeloader, a user, a moocher, a leech, a person who's going to trash up my life, I believe in never letting them in my life or up close and personal. People will in the workplace say, hey, would you do a little bit of work for me? And you're thinking you're doing them a favor, except they back up the truck with a whole truckload of work for you as well. So you open that door to a moocher, a user, a freeloader, and now you're doing all their work plus your work, and then they get mad and talk bad about you when you won't do their work anymore. That's just the way freeloaders do. So for me, I don't let them in my life. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Find something to worry about. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I am out here on my back porch, my back screened-in porch, and we had snow here in the south, and it's just so beautiful. Well, I wanted to talk to you today about, do you find something to worry about? Some people are just constant worriers. They worry about one thing or the other. They're constantly worrying, and they are constantly rehashing something over and over without a potential answer or solution. You know, growing up, I was around a lot of worriers. These were people that really had not been taught how to constructively problem solve, but they were taught to worry. People worried about everything, and they worried about potential things that likely would not happen. And many of the things they worried about never even came about, but they were often fearful. People who have been through trauma in life, sometimes I believe worry more than other people. It's a form of protection. If I worry enough, I can protect myself enough, is I think how many people think. And worry works against us. It drains our energy, and worry rarely ever comes up with a constructive solution. I believe in constructive problem solving. I believe in taking apart a problem, so to speak, and looking at it and trying to find the best solution. I do not believe in I do not believe in worrying and rehashing something over and over and over and not coming up with a solution. Some people simply worry about everything. Life is one big ball of worry, day in, day out, year in, year out. I have been around people like that, and they are no fun to be around. And they're constantly looking for something to worry about. It's kind of like their protective shield in life, I think. That's my belief, and that's how I look at it. So I believe in positive problem solving, coming up with solutions, writing it down, getting right information, finding right people to support us on our journey. But I don't believe in worrying. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Stop supporting people's bad habits. Support great habits in others. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brianne. You know, so often people overlook bad, nasty habits, bad behaviors, bad choices in other people. And I understand that. Sometimes we have to. Sometimes if we're working in a work situation and someone has bad habits or whatever, sometimes there's not a whole lot we can do about it. And even a family member, sometimes there's not a whole lot that we can do about it. So what do we do with people who have nasty choices, nasty habits, nasty behaviors, besides avoid them? And I believe in trying my best to avoid people like that because, well, I don't want to be around people like that. But should we support those kind of behaviors? Should we just ignore them? Well, I think in a large portion of cases, sometimes it's not our place to even address those issues. It's not our business. Depends on what role they play in our lives. If it's a role and it's somebody up close and personal, of course, I'm going to address it in one manner or the other. And I'm not going to support it. I remember many years ago, I knew someone who would go out and buy someone's cigarettes for them. Now, you know, there's probably a lot of smokers and everybody has their viewpoint on it. And I'm not sitting in judgment of anybody, but I would not buy cigarettes for someone else because to me, that's supporting a negative habit. It's supporting a bad habit. If someone has health issues related to wrong foods, I'm not going to support them and help them go purchase wrong foods for themselves. In other words, I'm not going to help them have negative behaviors, negative habits, negative choices. I'm going to support positive ones for their life. I may not be able to change them. They may continue down that road, and that's their choice. If they're an adult, that's their choice. And yet, it's not my choice to support them in their negative travels. Because often people who have bad habits, bad choices, bad decisions, they have people that are supporting them. They have people that are saying, it's okay, I'm there for you. You know, well, you know what? I think for me personally, and I'm just talking from my perspective, I'm not going to support people with their bad habits because I'm doing them wrong if I do that. I'm not helping them. You know, I'm not helping that person be a better person. And I want to help people be a better person. I want other people to help me. If I have a bad habit, I don't want someone to support it. Because if they support it, it's only going to make me worse. So I believe in supporting people who are having great habits, positive habits, habits that are going to lead them and point them in a right direction and give them their best life, a great life, a happy life. Not one that they're going to find themselves down a dead end of brokenness in one way or the other. So I believe in supporting people with great habits, good habits, but most certainly not supporting people with bad habits. From my beautiful day to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. And so from Grandma's porch, from my beautiful day, I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Perfectionism, creating a happy life after the age of 60. Creating a happy life after the age of 60. Perfectionism is unnecessary. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about the topic of perfectionism and how perfectionistic standards in all areas of our lives can often slow us down from the dreams and happiness that we truly, truly want. I do believe that sometimes we have to have perfectionistic standards about specific areas of life. I always say, if you're a brain surgeon, then you need to be, be a perfectionist about what you do. And yet, perhaps that same brain surgeon would not be a perfectionist in the other areas of his life that don't matter. And so, yeah, there's times that we do need to have perfectionistic standards, but those, I think, are far more rare than the other in our lives. I think sometimes perfectionism can hold us back. It can hold us back from our best lives because, well, we've set the bar so high that most people can't jump through that hoop. Relationship wise, most jobs are not perfect, and so we're going to look for perfectionistic standards on that job. We want a perfect job, and maybe they exist, maybe they don't exist, but I haven't found one. And so what I've often done is created a happy life even with imperfection around me. I've had jobs that were very imperfect, but I loved those jobs. My relationships are not always perfect. The people in them are not always perfect, including me. And yet I have high standards and they have high standards, and it's all good. But we don't have perfectionistic standards in our relationships. And so I think people that often hold other people at perfectionistic standards often either don't have relationships, or sometimes their relationships can be very, very challenging, difficult, and unhappy. I once knew an older gentleman who was very successful, and he was perfectionistic within his profession, and probably that was a good thing. And yet in his personal relationships, he was not successful because he held relationships to such a perfectionistic standard that most people didn't want to live up to that. I know I didn't, and I would not have wanted to. And so I really, really think that perfectionism for me is reserved for specific areas, but not for all areas. And I think most happy lives are also often imperfect lives. And so my life is not perfect in every single way, and I have a wonderfully, beautiful, happy life. When I come on here and I make these YouTube videos, sometimes I make noise when I'm moving the camera, and there's a little jiggle, and there's a little wiggle, and there's a little noise. Sometimes my lighting is not so good. Sometimes my makeup is not so good. Sometimes I get off on other subjects, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm not looking to have perfectionistic standards about my YouTube channel. I just want a wonderful YouTube channel. And so it's that way I live in life. My standards for those around me, my standards for going to college. I started college this past year, and I have to drive in and then deal with traffic and all that goes with going to college. And if I had perfectionistic standards, that could defeat me. My GPA at the end of the semester was really good, and yet I'm not holding myself to that same standard into the next semester because I'm taking a very heavy load of courses. So I'm not going to have a perfectionistic goal of like, oh, I've got to maintain that GPA. I would like to, I'll strive for that, but it's not necessary as long as I feel that I'm doing my very best and I'm doing well. So I don't have to have perfectionism going to college at age 62. And I think a lot of older people can get into perfectionism. They can, the older they get, the more, the things have to be a certain way. And that can really work against them over the age of 60, especially. And I have friends over the age of 60 that are very much into perfectionism. And I think it kind of messes up their life, And I have other friends over the age of 60 that are not perfectionistic and have wonderful, amazing lives. So I think it depends on what we're talking about. If you have a specific skill or trade or something that you have to do that requires perfectionism, I'm all for perfectionism. But to carry it over into all areas of our lives, well, I don't think it's necessarily necessary. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, I love perfect windows. I love shiny windows. I could be neurotic. I love, love, love my windows shined. But I have to say to myself, is that necessary for me to be happy? Do I have to have perfect windows or a perfectly clean car all the time? Does it have to just be perfect? Or can I be comfortable with it a little bit imperfect? And I have found that I'm a lot happier with imperfection than I am with perfection. So I thought I'd talk about that today. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. And I hope to talk to you all soon. So from my house to your house, God bless you. And I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Petty conversations. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about not getting caught into petty conversations. Don't get drawn into those conversations. And how this all came about is I was on a social media site yesterday, and it's kind of a more localized social media site, and then people just talk about random things just like we all do, and it's really a nothing subject. And I noticed that two people really kind of were really bickering, and I just thought, why in the world are they bickering over this ridiculous subject? It'd be like talking about cookies, and then getting into an argument about cookies. It's not something that is that significant. And I mean, I was looking at the news feed and I was going, oh my gosh, why are these people being so petty? And, I almost wanted to comment like, stop the pettiness, but I didn't, because then that would have drawn me into that conversation. And I didn't want to be drawn into that. People will try to draw us into conversations that we have no right to be in. And people will often try to draw us into negative conversations. And sometimes they'll play the victim. People, especially people who have toxic personality traits, they'll often turn things around and make themselves the victim and make you the person that is victimizing. And so I stay away from people like that. I don't want to be around people like that. I run the other way from people like that, because their game is to draw you in. Sometimes they'll draw you in with a good subject, like cookies, or sometimes they'll draw you in with just, a smile, but then they draw you in, and before you know it, you're in this conversation of pettiness, and it just turns into all of this dysfunction. And so, yeah, when I was on that social media site yesterday, I thought, boy, oh boy, I'm glad I kind of saw this now, and it's like people don't have enough to do with their lives. And so they decide to be petty, because people who are busy living a great life and making their life happen are not petty. They don't have time to be petty. And so I just stay out of conversations like that. Okay, the best way is to stay away from people who are going to twist things, try to draw us into things that we should not be into, pull us into negative conversation. Remember, if you're willing to get down into the muck, you're going to probably get stuck. And so I don't want that. I don't want that. I stay away from people like that. I want to surround myself with winners and motivated people and inspiring people, not people who are petty. Okay, just thought I'd jump on here with that subject. Hope to talk to you all soon. Make sure to subscribe. God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. When you're dealing with loss, when you have to pick up the pieces after loss. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. So what happens after loss, after you have put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, or in a couple baskets and everything just fell apart? What do you do? Well, loss is a very challenging and difficult thing to go through. I think most people at some point in life have experienced loss of one kind or another. So what happens after loss? Well, it depends. Every situation is different. Everything has its timeline. Everyone recovers differently, and everyone's situation is different, and every loss is different. And so, what a loss may mean to one person may mean something different to another. And so we all have a journey when we go through loss of recovering and getting back up and out there in life again. And it can be done in steps and stages, and it can be done over time, sometimes a short time, sometimes it takes longer for other people. And so, whenever we've been punched in the stomach, so to speak, and we feel like, well, life has really kind of knocked us out, we kind of feel like we don't want to get back up. We just want to lay there initially, I think, in many cases for people. But once we do begin to make that move upward and outward again, it can be a process. It can be done over time, and usually is not done overnight. If it's been any kind of significant loss, whether it's a loss of a relationship, a loss of a loved one, loss of a job, loss of finances, a loss of a marriage, a loss of a, whatever. And so, I believe in being patient after loss, understanding that there's a grieving process that goes on. Even if it's a job that we've lost, we can grieve over that job. We can grieve over that friendship. We can grieve. We can look back and wish and not move forward. As long as we're looking back, we're probably not going to move forward very, very much. So it's necessary to look back. It's necessary to begin the healing process. And then it's necessary to step back out in order to have a full life. And sometimes we don't even know what direction we want to take, and that's okay. We don't always have to know the direction that we want to take in life. Sometimes we just get out there and go in circles for a while, sometimes quite a long time, and then eventually our lives begin to piece itself back together. And I believe in keeping a positive attitude, knowing that it's important for us to get back out there, and yet it's important for us to allow ourselves to understand that it is a process, that it's just likely not going to happen overnight if that loss was significant. If we've lost a job, I believe in getting back out there and putting more applications in, whether it's for the same type of job or for a different kind. Maybe we need to go back to school and get more education. Perhaps it is a relationship. We've lost a relationship. So what do we do? If it was a romantic relationship, perhaps we may want to wait a while before stepping back out there. But at some point, we may step back out there. If it's a loss of a loved one, that can be very, very challenging and very deep. When we've loved somebody, I believe that we never remove them from our heart just because they're no longer present in our lives. I believe they live in our hearts forever. And yet we move on. We go on in a new way. If it's a loss of finances, circumstances, sometimes we have to start from scratch again and rebuild. And sometimes we build stronger and better. And often after loss, our lives over time are stronger, and we build much stronger and better in life, and we create a solid foundation in life. But either way, it's important to be patient with yourself after loss, and to love yourself and to be good to yourself. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. My pizza with butter. Hello you all, I'm Diana Brienne, and I just made a pizza homemade that has butter on it. And actually it's a store-bought pizza that you get in a box. It's just kind of the typical inexpensive store-bought pizza, but what I do is I put butter on the top of it. Now, I'm vegan, so I really don't eat much of this, but I do kind of nibble around it a little bit. So anyhow, my family, we're going to sit down and have pizza and salad, and it's kind of late evening here, and everyone is just getting in. And so I thought I'd share my little recipe about my pizza. And so, yeah, just put some butter on the top of it, and it makes it really good. I do not know how healthy it is. I'm not saying that it's healthy, but I'm saying it is delicious. Anyhow, we have been, I got in from the gym, and after I left the gym, I went to the store and got some pizzas and got my truck washed and got gasoline because I have classes tomorrow, an hour away. And it was a busy day. But one thing is, I do not rush, and I do not believe in rushing. I don't rush well, never did, and never will. I think rushing is pretty much a reflection of saying you've put too much on your plate of life, and you need to take some things off. And right now, I love everything I have on my plate of life, and so I want to keep those things on if possible. But I'm not going to rush to do it. I refuse to rush. I think mistakes are made when we're rushed, and I think we exhaust ourselves, and I think often our relationships also suffer when we rush. So anyhow, I just got in from the gym. I did my 2-hour workout, had a lot of homework today, and tonight I'm going to be up late working. But I will get plenty of sleep because tomorrow I drive my hour to and an hour from to college. And as many of you know, I'm 62 years old and went back to college to be an eternal learner. But anyhow, this video was not about all that. It was about pizza. And just one of those inexpensive pizzas. And I bought that. My mom taught me that years ago, just to put a little bit of butter on the top of it and bake it. And it's just really, really, really good. And you got to be careful though that the butter doesn't drip down into the oven when you're baking it. So I make sure I have like some aluminum foil and all that around it so that it does not drip. But yeah, we're gonna have pizza and salad. Yum, yum. Make sure to subscribe, and I hope to talk to you all soon. From my house to yours, God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Places do matter. Places do matter. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about places do matter. And by that, I mean is that where we position ourselves, even on the internet, can determine our success or our failure. You know, I left my hometown very early on because I didn't feel that there was a lot of opportunity there for me, and there were not really strong reasons that I wanted to stay there because much of my family ended up moving anyhow. And had I stayed there, I don't think I would have ever had the kind of life that I was able to lead. And so my opportunities were elsewhere. But even when I got to that elsewhere, sometimes I had to move on eventually from that elsewhere to move to the next phase and next stage of life. Now, we're not only talking about geography, we're talking about jobs. Some jobs have their limit as to how far we can go on that job. Sometimes even a college has its limit as to what we can learn. If we have a specific area that we want to learn in, not all colleges will provide that. A neighborhood, you know, we may have a neighborhood of people that we really don't have a lot in common with, and that we want more in common with someone. If we're above the age 50, a lot of times older people want to be in an older community where things are a little bit quieter. Some don't. You know, what I'm saying is places provide opportunities. They can provide problems. You know, you enter into a wrong place with wrong situations, and often we can get pulled into that situation. Places offer us so much. I'm very cognizant of the places that I enter. I always say a place has a spirit about it or a feeling about it. And some places I think are not good places to be in. They promote certain things that are negative, whereas other places promote overall positivity. Now, can bad things happen in good places? Of course. Can good things happen in bad places? Of course. But overall, you know, a good place will promote good things. And overall, a negative environment is probably going to wear on a person eventually by producing a lot of negativity. I've been on jobs that there was nothing that I could do to change that environment other than to leave it. And there were other jobs that I just had to tweak it a little bit and make it my way, and it worked perfect. And so, you know, each environment's different. Each environment has a protocol. Each environment has a spirit about it, so to speak, in my belief. And each environment offers us opportunities, and each environment can offer us problems if we're not careful. So we have to be aware of the environments and places that we're stepping into. But I do believe that if we want something in particular, often we have to go where that something is. Often that something is not going to come knocking on our door. So in my life, I always search out where my best opportunities for what I want are likely to be. And then I usually pursue that environment and we also create environments. You know, my home is an environment, and I keep it harmonious. It's important for me to keep my home harmonious. And so I keep out things from that environment that should not be there. You know, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't like TV because I think so much of it is garbage. And there's a lot of good on TV too. So, you know, I do understand that. But there's so much garbage out there on TV that I'd rather just not even deal with it. And I'd rather be more selective in what I choose to allow to come into my home. And so even what we do in an environment can affect that environment, that it can affect that place. So create wonderful environments wherever you go. Try to choose wonderful environments for your life that provide you with the opportunities and blessings that you want. From my house to your house, may God bless you. And I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I hope to talk to you all soon again. Start pleasing yourself. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, so many people are so busy trying to please everybody else, but they're not pleasing themselves. And often they feel just worn out, tired, and exhausted. For me, I love to please the people that matter to me in my life. I love to do things that make them happy, and I love to share goodness with them. At the same time, I do not want to exhaust myself. And I also realize the importance of taking good care of me and pleasing myself as well. I don't like to go to, certain kinds of restaurants because certain kinds of food don't appeal to me. And yet I may have a family member that likes that particular kind of restaurant. So sometimes I will go with them and try to order something off the menu that appeals to me more than the other things. And yet often, instead of going to a restaurant that I'm not happy with, I try to find a restaurant that we're both happy with, that pleases them and pleases me, because me being pleased is important as well. So often people put what pleases them to the side for everybody else. And sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes we have to do that a little bit now and then. And yet to do it ongoing, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, I believe is not a good thing, because our feelings do matter. What we want in life does matter, and our pleasure does matter as well. So I believe in making choices that make other people happy, but that also make me happy too. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Pampering. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Pampering, and not like in diapers. I think most people don't pamper themselves, at least not enough. And then there are some people that pamper themselves too much. But I think for the most part, most people feel a little bit guilty about pampering themselves. And I believe that pampering is a great thing to do for ourselves. When I hurt my foot a couple weeks ago and then had to go on antibiotics and all that, I really got to thinking about pampering. I do a tremendous amount for everybody else. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to let more people do more things for me, the people close to me. And they do. They're wonderful and amazing, and we all help each other. And yet I also thought, I'm going to pamper myself more. I'm going to take things slower. I'm going to do little wonderful things for myself, although I always have, but I'm just going to put a focus on being better to me. Sometimes we get so busy in life, and I often say you can be a truck or you can be a Ferrari, but if you're a Ferrari, don't try to be a truck, because you'll probably break down. And a lot of people treat their bodies like a truck, and at some point they break down. I remember a couple years back, I saw a lady at the grocery store who I was familiar with. She worked there, and she had was having all kinds of physical issues, and it was obvious, and yet she was still working. And I knew right away that her physical issues were coming from just being overloaded in life, because her job was hard. She was doing a lot more than just cashiering. She was moving stuff and lifting stuff, and she was probably closer to my age. And I thought, you can't do that to your body day in, day out, for the most part, and expect great results. And I thought, sometimes people get overloaded in life. They get exhausted, they get worn out, and then they get sick. And so when this happened with my foot, and in the middle of the night where I bumped my foot on a piece of furniture, that could have happened to anybody, no matter how well they take care of themselves, because I do take meticulous care of myself. And yet, I think at that time period, I was just, going in so many different directions in my life that even in my sleep, I probably, was going in so many different directions, because I go to college full time at 62 years old. I am, extremely busy. I have 3 young adult kids. I have a wonderful life, but I have a lot of things that I'm doing. So I kind of scaled back in a way. That's pampering for me. And I'm doing the important things in life. And I'm taking that bubble bath at night that I love, and relaxing and watching a good show. I've not been a person who watches much television, and I probably never will be. But I kind of thought, you know what? a kind of a what I call a junk show is probably okay now and then. And so, when I had my foot propped up, I watched a couple TV shows that I would have never normally watched because, they really don't give me a whole lot, but they were kind of entertaining. And it actually was kind of good. So sometimes we have to just be really, really good to ourselves. And, well, not sometimes. I think we should all the time be good to ourselves and take great care of ourselves, nurture ourselves, nourish ourselves, and also pamper ourselves. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.